Hello everyone, and very huge welcome to all the exciting startup to this webinar brought to you by the CrAdLE EDI. We are absolutely excited to have you all join us today for the exciting session. Whether you are aspiring entrepreneur, seasoned startup enthusiast, and anyone who is curious to learn, this is platform for you. So let's introduce our exciting, we are honored to have our speaker Harshvardhan sir. He holds an engineering degree from prestigious MIT USA. He brings over more than 17 years of experience in building and operating of logistics systems. So we are very glad to have him in our session. Harshvardhan sir will be sharing invaluable lessons for his entrepreneurial journey so far, and he will be sharing all his exciting journey and experience that he had. Welcome, sir. This virtual stage is all yours.
Thanks, Harsh. Can you confirm you can hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Perfect. Hello everyone. Thanks to CrAdLE and Harsh, especially for having me here. It's always good to have these kind of conversations. And I would start with confirming that the language for this session will be English. I'll mostly be speaking in English, but we all understand many other languages, including Hindi or any other language. That if anyone has any question or they want me to talk in that language, they can just ask. So, starting with my introduction, it's very hard to give my intro, honestly speaking, because I have one thing that defines my career progression so far is that I have done many different things in different industries. So I've had a lot of experience working for startups, working for big corporations, both in India and in the US, and also periods of time when I did basically nothing. So my experiences led me to the US finally for my master's degree at MIT, where I studied supply chain management. So primarily my background is in logistics and supply chain management, but I've explored many other industries as well. And I'm just trying to share my experience with you, and trying to stick to the topic and the audience that I have been told is specific to this session. So let's start with the topic. The topic that Harsh gave me was technology adoption and integration for existing industries. So if we break it down word by word, we all understand what technology means. Basically, any by definition, anything that makes our life easier, and it uses some scientific knowledge, kind of uses some machines, not necessarily in hardware sense, but can be a software virtual machine, but use of scientific knowledge to make our life better and make process more efficient. If you remember the scene from Three Idiots, where the definition of machine given by Amir Khan is like it basically improves your efficiency. So that's why we need technology, and that's why technology adoption is a thing, and that's why we talk about it. Now the question is, where do we apply it? So that's traditional industries that have already existed, and they already do something. They probably make a lot of money, and the question is, how do we make that process or that industry better, more efficient, so that we can add more value to the business and to the society. So the key word here is adoption and integration, and it's it sounds very simple, but it's probably the most challenging piece. The technology piece is probably relatively easier. There are still a lot of technology that needs to be applied, and the existing industry is also relatively easier. They already exist and they have been around. The puzzle is basically how you adopt and how you integrate technologies. And in current times, it's especially in India and globally also, it's a lot more relevant because of all the opportunities that have been presented to us by the geopolitical environment that we live in, especially the tariffs and all. A lot of industries will be moving from one geography to another, and as we all know, India has a huge opportunity right in front of us for the next several years, where we can improve our existing industries, make them more efficient, and become more of an exporter than importer of technology. So that basically tells us about the topic. Now let's dive into it. Before I dive into the topic, I just wanted to mention one more thing. So in current days, it's if any one of you can go to any application like chat gpt or any other large language models that exist today, and you type exact topic that we have, like technology adoption and integration for traditional industries, and it will give you a much better answer that I can give you. And in this time, like, human intelligence is, it's very hard to compete with those models, and they are getting better and better. So I'm trying not to stick to the kind of answer that you will find on those language models and AI, so-called AI, which we have now. What unique I can bring is probably my own experiences and some insights from my experience that probably might not be captured by the language models yet. So, um, going to the basics, like why, I just talked about that adoption and integration is hard. The question is, why is it hard? So I thought about that this morning, and like, why is it hard? And it turns out it's something to do with the way our societies and humans exist in general. If you pick any random population, there will be a certain percentage of that population that will be more risk averse, and a certain percentage that will be more attracted towards risk taking. So these characteristics is distributed in our society. And there was a scientist, his name was Everett Rogers, based in the US. He came up with this technology adoption curve, and he defined 5 different categories of people that exist in our in industries, in business, in societies, anywhere you go. So it starts with risk takers, and these are like 2.5% of population roughly. And these people will just try anything new. You bring any new technology to them, um, they don't think a lot, they will just go ahead and try it. And these are your low hanging fruits. Any new technology you can try out with them. Then come early adopters. So these are people who are little more thoughtful, but they are on purpose, they are willing to try new technologies. And again, anytime a new technology is launched, these are the people who actually go and test it out. And then come early majority, then we have late majority, and finally we have the laggards. The laggards are people who will remain skeptical about the technology till the very end, and they will not adopt it unless they are absolutely forced to do it. So we have seen this curve in play in many other waves of transformation in the past. For example, when TV arrived, refrigerators, all these home appliances, and in terms of technology, the internet, electricity, any technology you can think of has followed this curve. And as entrepreneurs and students and early stage founders, that's what I was told the audience, primary audience for this talk is, what you should be doing is keeping this curve in mind at any point. And you should know that this exists, and this is something very, um, very special and indistinguishable from human behavior, and you just cannot bypass it. There is no way that you come up with a solution, a technology solution, and expect that everyone will adopt it right away. There will be a curve, and you should be prepared for that. uh, Talking from my own experiences, I have seen this happening in multiple times in my career, both working as a founder and also working as in one of these corporate companies. The rollout of technology and how you integrate it with the existing systems is a real big challenge. I first saw it working at one of the largest private insurance company in India, like in 2010. They had a major rollout of their upgrade of their software systems, and people were just not ready for it. It was a complete mess. It took them more than a year, and several lakhs of rupees, if not crores, was wasted in that implementation. More recently, I saw it in the US, where I was working as a shipper, and we were working with a 3PL carrier, basically a trucking company. And they had a new CEO who tried to push a new upgrade to the system without any training, without taking care of the precautions that I will talk about later in the talk. and that led to, again, a huge outage. Nobody knew where the parcels were that we were shipping. Complete lack of visibility, complete mess for several days, millions of dollars lost. um, on my own entrepreneurial journey as a founder, I have done this mistake, and I did was working on a company called Kivio, which I founded in 2018. Kivio was building a blockchain based solution for maritime industry, so trying to bring the contracting process for the way you hire a ship and pay for the ship between a charterer and a ship owner, trying to bring that whole process on chain, and tokenizing the rights that exist in those contracts so that you can buy and sell those in a marketplace. So it definitely, if implemented, that technology would have saved the industry a lot of money and made it a lot more efficient. So the technology existed. We proved it through a small pilot. The traditional industry, which is the maritime industry, very traditional, existed. The challenge was adoption and integration, and we failed there. And I have some lessons from that. Again, I'll probably jump right into that next. So let me present to you the key takeaway from this talk, which is I'm going to talk about five points about how you, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, should go about building and selling technology for, for traditional industries. um, so what we have done so far, we have established that traditional industries exist and they need technology adoption. We have established that it is hard, and now we are talking about the ways to navigate that challenge. So I'll just take a pause and see if there's any question or anything that Harsh or anyone else wants to bring up. All good.
Sir, we will take a question after the session, and if we get any question between the session, then we'll let you know.
Perfect. I just needed an excuse to drink some water. So
Yeah,
we are good.
I know, no issues, sir. Yeah.
All right. So let's dive into it. There's 5 points I have written this morning. So number one is, even before you start building a product, it can be software, it can be hardware. Um, you have to understand that distribution is the challenge, not is a much bigger challenge and a much bigger reward than uh, just building the technology. And this challenge exists everywhere, not just in technology but also in any kind of creative field. You can create the best masterpiece, you can create the best song that exists out there. Nobody will know about it if you don't have the means to distribute it. And the people who control the distribution essentially control the market. And that's why it becomes so hard for incumbents to come in into an existing field. So when you talk about existing industries, um, it they already have a strong network of technology suppliers that exist there, and you are trying to get into that network and trying to sell a new piece of technology that might be very hard to adopt, and it might require a lot of integration. So the first step is you have to understand that no matter how good your technology is, if you don't have the right distribution strategy figured out, you will you will face challenges, and it will hurt your business, it will hurt your startup. So that's the first step. Now, having realized that, what can we do next? So the second piece is, um, you have to immerse yourself in the industry completely. So if you are building for an industry which you are not a part of, so luckily for me, for example, uh, when I was building Kivio, I was building for an industry which I had been a part of, and I skipped that part in my introduction. But my background before coming to MIT was in maritime industry, and I've explored that industry in many different ways, being on board ships as a navigating officer, and also working ashore as a ship manager running a fleet of oil tankers. So I had done both technical and management and commercial management. So it was an industry that I really understood, and that becomes very important because If you are coming from outside and you want to build something for an industry, it's probably not advisable unless you have someone on your team that really understands that industry. A few exceptions to this rule will be people who are building pure technology, which can be like a dev tool or something for builders. So in that case, of course, you don't have, it's industry agnostic. It doesn't matter what you build, but if you are building anything that's specific for an industry, you should better have experience in that industry. And if you don't have that, make sure you immerse yourself in that industry completely. A good example I recently came across, I have a kind of a friend. I know him, he knows me. He's a serial entrepreneur himself, here in Boston from MIT, and he recently started a new company for pet care. He has raised $10 million in pre-seed fund, which is pretty impressive. So the way he did it, he actually went and worked as these pet care centers for months. He owns, and the idea came to him because his daughter asked him to buy a dog for her, and he bought a pet, and then he realized all the friction that exists in that industry, and he started thinking about what can be done to solve it. And he actually went and worked at one of these pet care centers for months to really understand the process and the pain points. So that's strongly recommended. That's step two. Now, coming to step three is, you have to narrow down your focus a lot. So when you think about any industry, any traditional industry, uh, by traditional industry, again, we can mean manufacturing or agriculture, services industry as well. Logistics is an industry in itself. So any of these industry, once you get into it, it's pretty complex. It's a very complex system dynamics at play at each of these industries. And it's not easy to understand every part of it and solve all of its problems. At the same time, any small thing that you do probably impacts many other parts of the industry. So once you are there, once you have immersed yourself in the industry, and you have a good understanding of it, try to look for the biggest pain points and the low hanging fruits that you can solve. The reason is that if you try to build a holistic solution, like end to end solution that changes everything and that requires the organization to change behavior, change the way they do things today, that makes adoption a lot harder. And the reason is obvious. Like, I probably don't even need to explain this to you. This is pretty obvious, you all understand this. Like, um, you are selling something that has not even been verified whether it works or not, and now you are asking the company to change the way it works. So that's going to be very hard to sell. Now, um, so what you do is that step three is basically you narrow down your focus, look for the biggest pain points, the one thing that absolutely hurts the organization, and one thing, and also the it should be easy to implement. So it's kind of a 2 by 2 matrix where you are looking for impact and on one axis, and you are looking for the ease of applying that on, like, how hard it is to implement that on the other axis. So you are basically looking for the top right quadrant where it's relatively easier to implement, and the problem is really hard, and you should build a solution for that problem, and that gives you a foot in the door. And then we'll come to the next step after that. So coming to the fourth point is, when you are building these solutions for the existing industries, don't try to build a product and then go try to sell it. You should be looking for design partners. Especially, this is very important, especially when you are building products for B2B solutions. And regardless of how well you have done all the three previous steps, so regardless of how well you have immersed yourself in the industry, regardless of how well you think you have the right problem statement and the right challenge you are working on, you will probably still fall short for various reasons. One is, and I mean, there can be various reasons. One of them can be that you made a mistake in one of these steps and you thought that you immersed yourself completely, but you really didn't. So the way to fix that is look for design partners. And um, you have to find a company that might not be a good representation of your entire customer base, but it should be a reasonable representation of the entire population of customers that you are targeting. And ideally they should be relatively smaller in size, because larger organizations are just harder to navigate. So for example, if I'm building in today's scenario, if I'm building Kivio again, and I'm trying to build a solution for the maritime industry, I will probably work with a small maritime company where I can find some contact, and probably run by one of my friends, and I'll onboard them as a design partner. So working with their employees, a small set of employees, and testing the solutions out with them, that gives you really good insights about what features to include and what features to exclude. So with that, that brings me to the last step, which is start. I probably already included it in the previous step. Start small and expand. Again, don't try to build an end-to-end solution. It's probably not going to work, which was the case with me in some of my previous startups as well. So start small, get your foot in the door through the design partners. So design partners give you an entry into the industry, and then your narrow focus and your solving for the biggest pain point should ideally give you a foot in the door into the big organizations, and show them value by solving that one specific problem, and gain their confidence. And that's how you start small, and then from that point on you should expand and keep adding more features. One company that has done it really well in recent times, Indian company Zoho, is one of the examples that comes to my mind. I mean, it has taken them decades to do it, but they started with small solutions, and slowly now they have a whole suite of applications that they are selling. So yeah, I'll just go back and summarize my 5 points, that the summary of this talk. Understand that distribution is the key. Start building your solutions with distribution in mind. Don't Distribution should not be an afterthought. It should be the first step in your planning. Immerse yourself. Second point, immerse yourself into the industry that you are trying to solve for. Narrow your focus. Try to look for the biggest pain points. That's the third point. The fourth point is look for design partners, and finally start small and then expand. So with this, I'll be open to any questions that you guys might have, or any comments, any suggestions. I'm still live, right? Harsh, are you there?
Yes, sir, you are live. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So you can continue.
Yeah, I just concluded my
Okay.
talk. So yeah, um,
So let me check. Is there any question regarding this session we have?
yeah. I believe this is recorded, and this will be on YouTube. So if people can
Yes, sir.
always comment later.
Uh,
So
yeah,
no
we
issues
have
if
a
we don't have
question,
any
sir.
question.
Let me
Uh-huh.
display on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Suman is asking, you mentioned lessons from entrepreneurship. Could you share one or two of the most unexpected challenges you faced and how you navigated them in the early days? Unexpected challenges, again going back to Kivio, is um, we so that industry was very new back then. 2018, building for a blockchain solution was it was probably still considered deep tech, and the markets were not tested. Nobody knew what's the best strategy is to what's the best go to market strategy is. So we had the tech figured out. We had the solution, a very elegant solution, really, but we didn't have the go to market strategy figured out. And The challenge there was that for a blockchain solution to work, you need to have multiple players in the ecosystem who are using it. So one person using a blockchain doesn't make any sense, right? It's peer to peer, it's distributed ledger, it's has to be there has to be the whole ecosystem plays there. So when we came up with the solution, and we tried to onboard a couple of big players, and the challenge always was, okay, if you get other people, then I'll come on board. Yeah, this is like people would say this is a good solution, we like it. If someone else joins, we will join, and everyone used to say the same. And the same thing with the investors. So if you go to the investors, they will investors would like to see a huge return on this, and then they will say, okay, how are you making money, and who are going to make decisions on this? So for adoption, you want to tell your customers that, okay, you come on board and we will create a consortium. So that's how you create ecosystem. So that was one of the solutions. But the moment you talk about consortium, then you lose decision making as a technology provider, and now the community or the ecosystem is making decisions for the network, and that's something that investors didn't like. So we fell into this situation where, um, if you try to incentivize early adopters, then the investors are not happy. And if you keep investors happy and keep things in control, then nobody is coming on board. Nobody wants to be the early adopter, the first one to join. Everyone is waiting for someone else to join. So this is something that we didn't expect, because we kind of expected, but not we didn't realize it will be so hard, unless we until we actually did it. um, so yeah, that's one of the lessons, I think, from my own journey.
So another question we are getting from Ayush, as you can see on the display.
With your experience in logistics, what are some fundamental principles from the field that you found surprisingly applicable to building your current food processing startup? That's a great question, Ayush. Thanks for asking. So, I came to MIT to study logistics systems, and um, I really had no idea what that means. And I believe most people really don't understand what it means. But now, on the hindsight, now with all these years of experience, after it has been 7 years since graduation, I see the fundamental concepts of logistics applicable everywhere, and in all aspects of life. So what is a logistics system? It's basically a collection of nodes and arcs, and you have information flow, material flow, and financial flows through flowing across those nodes and arcs. So again, a lot of jargons there, nodes and arcs. What does it really mean? So think of it like, you have multiple cities in most fundamental form. You have these multiple cities, and you are shipping products from one city to another. So these cities act as your node, and the products that you ship on the trucks is the roads are the arcs, and then you are sending packets of material and information through that. Now, if you can draw this exactly the same analogy for software and for internet, especially, like the way internet works is essentially you have nodes and arcs, and you are sending packets of information across the network. So it's exactly the same concept as computer science as well. And if you start looking more into, like, deeper down, your every day-to-day decision is down to a logistic system. And the way you interact in the system is you start with forecasting, and which is called demand forecasting, and you try to predict the future, and you think, okay, this is what's going to happen. And then you plan your inventory, so that's your inventory optimization. Now, given the forecast, you want to optimize your resources, so that you are ready to meet the demand by your supply, and you plan the supply accordingly. So that's the second step. And then comes your in more traditional industry, it's sales and operations planning. So you try to balance what you promise and what you deliver. And then it comes to the actual physical movement of things, which is distribution and transportation. So even a small decision, like whether I should wear a jacket or not today, is essentially a logistic system, and I'll explain it to you how. So for making this decision, I will first try to forecast how the weather will be, and I'll probably look at my weather app and see the forecast, and weather says, okay, it's going to be cold today. And then now I'm making a decision about the inventory, which is essentially my jacket. Now, carrying a jacket is an additional task. I would like to avoid carrying an additional jacket if I can, but given the forecast, it looks like, oh, there is a 90% chance that it will be cold. Or you can think of umbrella if it rains. Same decision point. And so then I'll make a decision. Okay, I should take one jacket or two jackets, and then it's the actual distribution and transportation. So actually wearing that jacket, I can carry it in a suitcase, or I can just wear it, and things like that. So that's something from my logistics industry that I find applicable in almost every aspects of life. And uh, I don't know if I'm the first person to notice this. I'm pretty sure I'm not, but I don't find a lot of mention of this thing in general on the internet.
So one last question we have from Tausik.
Yeah, hi Tausif. So you're balancing research at UMass with building a startup. How do you manage your time and priorities effectively? So my role at UMass Boston is an entrepreneur in residence. So everything I do there is tied up to the startup that I'm working on right now full time. So all the research that I do there is also somehow connected to what my startup wants to deliver. And we are still in stealth, so I cannot talk a lot about it right now. But that role is specifically designed for this. So you are also helping the students and faculty at the institute to bring their startups to the world with my industry experience. And at the same time, I'm also building my own startup. So it's not research in pure academic sense where I'm publishing paper, or it's more like startup related research and market research kind of research.
So with that, we think we have come to the end of our session today. Really, it's an amazing session that we have today, sir. I would like to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude for you, sir, to coming to our session. I will also like to have Subham sir on stage. He's from CrAdLE EDI. So give a vote of thanks to Harshvardhan sir.
Thank you, Shubham sir.
Thank you, Harshvardhan sir. We would like to again extend a heartfelt gratitude from our end as well, from CrAdLE, for joining this session, like joining this stream, and enriching the all the entrepreneurs and all the people looking at this stream. And definitely, it was very like we could see your experience in the field, giving a lot of insights, and it was a really great session. We would really like to have you again, once again, if you can like give
Yeah,
another
we
link.
can do it more often. It's yeah, anytime you guys want. I think we should do it more often. It's fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, sir.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I like to thank our audience because they actively participated, and I saw many good questions in the comment section box. So, really thanks to the audience for joining this session. I hope you will enjoy. We're looking forward for more sessions with your students, sir, definitely for sure. So, yeah, we are wrapping up with this session. That's all. Really, thank you so much for everyone joining this session. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you.